Welcome to week 3. We're working on the Blackberry Stitch this week. As you can see, the little pearl bumps of this particular stitch look like blackberries. It's also called Bramble Stitch or Trinity Stitch. It's got several names. It's a classic knitting stitch, and so you'll be able to find this pattern elsewhere as well. It is not as unique as last week's pattern, but it does have some of the same elements in terms of construction, and we'll get to those. I'm using Caron Simply Soft in Lavender Blue. That is color D, which we're using for this week. Of course, you can work it in any color you choose, but I think that this looks a little more blackberry-ish. There are a couple of edge stitches worked in this, so if you are watching this video and you're not doing the Summer Stitch Sampler Knit Along, you'll want to omit the 2 purl stitches on either edge of the odd rows. And there will be links below for the Facebook group for our Summer Stitch Sampler Knit Along, the Knit Along itself, and to this particular stitch as individual instructions, so you can follow those. So I'm not going to go over the whole stitch with you. It's a 4 stitch and a 4 row repeat. It's not reversible. As you can see, the back side of it is not attractive at all. It just kind of looks like a mess. But the work begins on the wrong side, so we will be looking at the messy side as we begin. So it's a 4 row repeat, 4 stitch repeat, and really what you're working is you're working 1 stitch, 3 stitches into 1, and then you're going to purl 3 together. And then on the other row that you're actually working and not simply purling, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to purl 3 together, and then you're going to work 3 stitches into 1. So as you can see, I just finished one of my all purl rows here. Okay, and so what we're going to do, it's actually row 3 of the pattern, is these are my edge stitches that we're working just so we can assemble. Okay, so that's 2 purls. And now what we're looking at is what was 1 stitch before, we're going to turn into 3. So this is the part that reminds me of last week's stitch. We're going to knit 1, we're going to purl 1, and we're going to knit 1 all into that same stitch. And after we've done the 3rd one, we slip it off the needle. Okay? And then we're going to purl 3 together. And this can get a little fiddly. I mentioned that these aren't the best needles. And then this yarn is a little prone to splitting, but there you go, 3. And then you're going to repeat all the way down. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, and then purl 3 together all the way down. So this is what it looks like as you're working. I also included some progress pictures because when you get started, you'll do 3 rows of stockinette, and then you start to work the pattern rows. It takes you a few rows before you actually see any actual progress of what will look like a blackberry stitch. And so I just wanted to include those photos. I know a lot of folks, when they get started, if it doesn't look exactly right and you can't see where it's going, you get a little nervous and want to rip back. But just stay the course with this particular stitch because it will end up looking like you want it to look. And for those of you who want to do a swatch, the swatch that I'm doing right now and that I typically do for every week is a 24 stitch swatch. And 24 works well because it's big enough to see the pattern, but it's divisible by everything that we've done so far. Everything we've done so far, so it really works out in terms of numbers for everything. Sorry. I am, as you will see me occasionally do on accident in these videos, I'm a combination knitter. So typically when I wrap my pearls, I actually wrap them clockwise. But I know most folks don't, so I try to knit in the common style when I do these videos so as not to confuse anyone. So, and then you'll finish with 2 pearls and done. So this is what you're seeing on the right side of your work. And so every couple rows you'll see these little bobbles pop up. And then on the front side, this is the part that seems a little confusing because you're just gonna purl straight across every time it's a right side. And it seems confusing because we're all used to purling on the back side because that's how stockinette works. But yeah, you'll just purl straight across this one. So every other row you're just purling, and every other row you're working your alternates of the bobbles. So I'm just gonna leave that there. And again, if you have any questions, you can leave those in the comments. You can comment on the post that's linked below, or you can join our Facebook group. The Facebook group is for the Summer Stitch Sampler Knit Along, and we release one stitch every week that we're doing for a portion of our Afghan. And this is week 3, so there is still time to jump in if you're interested, especially if you're a quick knitter or want to do a small size or baby blanket size. Then there is time for you to get started and get on track before we finish. So it's 12 weeks. Week 13 is an optional applied border. So we've got 10 weeks to go. We'd love to have you, and I hope to see you next week.